So my girlfriend has this ability. It's almost like a superpower where something happens to her, like something negative happens, and she just goes, okay. And she just kind of goes on with her life. She gives like little to no energy to that thing. And she just literally just kind of goes with the flow and starts like, I don't know, focusing on the things she can control. She doesn't fight herself. She doesn't think negative. She doesn't complain. She was doing schooling to be a respiratory therapist, and during the whole process, I was kind of like coaching her a little bit. But she would never complain. Like, she would get nervous for like a test or whatever, but she would never ever like start talking down on herself. Yeah, she had her doubts here and there, but when something didn't go her way, or like, I don't know, she didn't score like what she wanted to, she would never complain. Fast forward now, she's like in a really good hospital, a respiratory therapist. She like works at Hoag, which is one of like the legit like hospitals in Orange County. She's making really good money, more than what she expected to, all because she never freaking complained. It's something so small, but that is the ultimate superpower. Because when you complain, all you're doing is that you are affirming all the negative shit that's happening to you. You're like doubling down on it, and you're like creating a momentum to keep having more bad experiences. You keep talking about how everything's going wrong, you're gonna keep finding more evidence how everything's going wrong. Now, wanna know something funny? You know what's the exact polar opposite of complaining? Gratitude. Because gratitude is talking about all the things you're happy about, right? Like everything you're grateful for, and you're doubling down on that. So whenever you catch yourself in a negative mindset and you catch yourself complaining, you flip that polarity on its opposite and you go rampage and start freaking going on a gratitude rampage. Start complaining on all the good things that are going right. This whole reality, this matrix, is a game of awareness. So if you just shift your awareness to what everything that's going right with the easy hack of gratitude, your whole life will change for the better. I'm giving you guys the cheat codes. Use this and follow me for more.
What I wish I knew at 19 instead of 44. Not everything is going to work out. Your mom's going to get sick and die. There's going to be people in your life who end up being real assholes. You're going to be absolutely crushed at certain points in your career. You're going to be sitting on the stairs pregnant with your first baby, completely immobilized because you are so hungry, and crying because you are so hungry but cannot walk up the stairs. You'll go to Trader Joe's sometimes and have your bank card declined. You'll be catty or mean to people that you love. You might even crash your stepmother's Porsche. The setbacks will just keep happening. But ultimately, you will learn that you don't want everything to go right all the time. Constantly winning? That's kind of boring. Would you rather still have your mom and not made some of the mistakes? Yes, of course. But it's persevering through all those hard times, which makes success really incredible. Of course, you need to try to win more than you lose to have like overall success in your life. But your ability to understand and have empathy for others will be so much richer because you've been in the trenches too. It may seem like having a blessed and charmed life that always goes perfectly is the goal. It's not. So life is not perfect. There are barriers and setbacks that you feel you can never come back from, but you can.
Welcome to an installment of the Small Things Bucket List. If you're new here, the Small Things Bucket List is just a list of little things that I want to do that don't take up too much time, don't cost too much money, and keeps me looking forward to something. Today I'm sharing a little birthday tradition. Today is my birthday, and every year I like to write myself a little birthday card, which I then stick into my scrapbook. So this is one from 2 years ago. Usually I go to the store and I buy myself a cute little card made by a local artist. But this year I'm balling on a budget, so I decided to make my own little card. And I write myself a birthday card for me to open next year on my birthday. So I'm turning 27 today, but this birthday card is for my 28th birthday. It's a really fun little tradition. I like to put little stamps on the card. I put stickers inside of the card. I write things like what I've been into lately, some highlights from the past year, and my predictions for next year when I'm opening and reading this card.
Here's a list of everything I did in my 20s that scared the absolute hell out of me, but made me a more confident woman, a stronger woman, and a more aligned woman, and just really helped me find myself and figure out who I am as a person. I am now 30, so I'm really fresh out of my 20s here, but I recently realized that I am actually really good at getting out of my comfort zone, even though it's really scary and kind of anxiety inducing. I still do it anyway. And I wrote them down because I didn't want to forget. Okay. I'm gonna start with a friend one because it felt like the end of the world when I did this, but it was actually one of the best things I ever did. I left my college friend group. I now have 2 really close friends from college, and that's it. I was in this like really big girl group post-college, and we were having the best time in Southie, but I started to realize how toxic the group was, and I left the group chat, which I got a lot of heat for, and then after I left the group chat I started not getting invited to things, and it was really lonely for a little bit. But now I have really close friends. I've made some new friends, and I just deepened my relationships with people that I have known my whole life, and it's been so worth it. Going off the social group thing, I stopped binge drinking. There was a big binge drinking culture in Southie, and when I stopped hanging out with those people, it wasn't really available to me as much, I guess, but I realized how much better I felt when I wasn't drinking on the weekdays or partying so hard on the weekends. Like, I love to go out to dinner and have glasses of wine, but like, and maybe have a late night out every once in a while. That's like a good balance for me, but I'm not doing it all the time, and I feel so much better for it. I quit my corporate job, and it was absolutely terrifying. It needed to be done. I was super sick, but I kind of felt like a failure when I did it because everyone else was still in the corporate world, and I felt like I was chronically ill, but I also didn't want to be in that corporate space anymore, but I didn't really see other pathways. This was in 2018, so there wasn't so much like online work going on. I did a 200-hour yoga teacher training, which I absolutely loved, but it was terrifying. I had to, teach classes in front of people I didn't know. I would get called on. Like, it was really scary, but also really awesome. Got my teacher training right before the pandemic, and then I decided to teach online to get the experience, but it was absolutely terrifying to ask people to come to my yoga class as a brand new yoga teacher. The first time I ever did an in-person yoga class was terrifying. I was shaking the entire time and thought it was horrible. And you know what? It's not scary anymore at all. I did the Institute of Integrative Nutrition health coaching training. I was also terrified to start that. I was really worried about how people would judge me or think that it was like weird, and that I don't know. I started my health coaching one-on-one business. I was really nervous to start it. I ended up not liking it, and I was actually really afraid to tell people that I didn't like doing the one-on-one health coaching. It was just a lot. It was very energy draining for me, and it was really scary to kind of be like, I put all this time into the health coaching, but that's not the path that I want to go down with this certificate. Starting my social media journey was absolutely terrifying. Just putting myself out online was so scary. And of course I worried about what other people would think of me all the time. And I posted for 2-3 years before I really saw any growth. My TikTok's still growing, but on the other app I have a really fun community over there, and it's been so worth it. But it was really scary to get started, like talk on stories, or this was when like Instagram lives were a big thing. I am glad that those aren't really a thing anymore, but I would do them, and I would be shaking the whole time. But now, like, if I needed to do one, it would be fun. I think that's it for today. That's what I wrote for today. I think I might do another one that are things that I failed at in my 20s, because that's kind of fun too.
I believe that everybody in the world should be making at least $100,000 a year and has the capacity to make at least $100,000 a year. I'm going to break this down step by step, everything you need to do to get to your first $100,000 a year. No BS, I'm not trying to sell you anything, I'm just giving you the template. At least this is the template I use to go from broke to doing pretty well for myself. First thing you're going to do is stop watching Hulu or Netflix. I'm going to take the 3 hours that you're going to watch Love Island this week, and you're going to watch the 3-hour and 35-minute How to Get Rich Naval podcast. You're going to go on youtube.com, type in How to Get Rich Naval Ravikant, and watch the entirety of this thing. This specific video was the catalyst to my path transforming. The next thing you're going to do is read We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel Rodgers. Especially if you are a woman, you need to read this. I think Rachel does a really good job of talking about and acknowledging the inequalities in our money system, especially for women and people of color. And she offers stories and advice on how actually making money is how we're going to fix those problems, and staying broke is not how we're going to fix those problems. This is probably my number one recommended book to everybody I work with, just because I think this is the book that takes the emotional aspect, the practical aspect, and the spiritual aspect and balances them the best. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to go to my bio and watch my How to Get Your First Six-Figure Job Using LinkedIn. It's a free course. You can get it right here. And then you're also going to download this free LinkedIn profile checklist, and you're going to optimize your LinkedIn profile. This is very important. You need to optimize your LinkedIn profile to look like a thought leader and not a normie employee. Thought leaders always get paid more. If you don't think you're an expert, yes, you are an expert. You're going to read this article by Naval Ravikant. It's called Arm Yourself with Specific Knowledge. And it talks about how to identify the specific knowledge that you have, even if it's something that's outside of work, still something you can monetize. Next, you're going to do this free worksheet. Just Google 3 simple steps to uncover your purpose and realize your goals. This is a really great worksheet to find out, like, what do you want to do with your life? And it's going to help you create like a work career mission statement that's going to be pretty easy to add to your LinkedIn profile and direct the direction of your career. The next thing you're going to do is add a Calendly link to your LinkedIn featured section. So you're going to add like a calendar scheduling link on your LinkedIn, but you're going to charge for it. You're going to start charging $100, $200 for somebody to talk to you for like 30 minutes or an hour. I know it sounds crazy. I know you think people aren't going to book this. Trust me, people are going to book this. Next, you're going to read Kevin Kelly's article called 1,000 True Fans. 1,000 True Fans is a personal financial concept that works off the basis of if you can get 1,000 people to pay you $10 a month, that gets you to 6 figures a year. And it kind of works through what your offering can be. And lastly, a little bonus, I would list a digital product on Gumroad. Gumroad's just like very searchable. For me and my clients, like no one makes a ton of money off of digital products that I personally know, but it is a really good way to go from like $0 to $1 and to start to own and monetize your own mind and your own information and your own specific knowledge. Anyways, I'm moving out of the way so you guys can screenshot.
If you want to do a self-care glow up, and by that I don't mean bath bombs, face masks, and eyelash curling, I don't know. Drop the journaling, stop the meditation, because it's actually so much easier than that. And this is coming from somebody who has at times in his life not been so kind to himself and is doing better. I wouldn't say I'm perfect, but I'm saying I'm the best I've ever been. And it's actually not about anything you can do to yourself from the outside. It's about something you're not doing enough yet for yourself inside. I'm Justin Schumann. Human is also literally in my last name, and that is what I'm here to help you do better. The foundation of how you treat yourself, I believe, is based on self-trust, i.e., how much do you trust your gut, your impulses, your internal compass of what is good, true, right, wrong, correct, boundaries, etc. If you're a person who questions everything you say in life because you're afraid of offending someone else or being judged for it or saying something unpopular or sounding stupid, you lack trust in yourself. To trust oneself is to trust that the words that you have in any one moment are good, are true, are enough. There are no right words for a situation or wrong words. There are the words that you have, and then you manage them once they come out of your mouth. Am I saying you should be thoughtless about it? No. But am I saying you shouldn't think as hard about it? Absolutely yes. I've been an actor on Broadway, and I find that when you are like doing the human thing on a Broadway stage, it often requires like, I am being a person telling a story, but there's like this gentle awareness of the amplification of what it means to human, because you're like doing it in plain view of others, kind of like we do on social media, right? Because social media is also a parallel for real life. It's interesting because you can't go on autopilot when you're on Broadway, because then you're sort of like not really present, you're not in the thing, you're not listening to your scene partner, you're not really a part of the conversation. But you also can't be so dialed in that you are noticing everything about the person you're talking to, the set, that piece of spike tape on the floor, what that audience member is doing in the first row, because then you'll also totally lose your mind, and chances are you'll lose yourself in the script and like, where the fuck was I? It's this really delicate balance of being present, being aware, knowing that you've prepped for this moment. So on stage, we've had rehearsal, and in life, you've lived life. Don't disregard or undervalue the lessons you have lived and learned in your lifetime, because they are worth something. You have to just trust that in any one moment, you have enough. Enough what? Enough of it all. Enough courage, enough intelligence, enough. The foundation to any self-care glow up is, I trust that what I'm about to do for myself is right, because I know me better than anyone else. And even if that's not actually true, 1, that's not for anyone else to fucking decide. 2, it's actually always intrinsically true, because if you believe it to be true, it is. Because then if you ask yourself, am I actually doing the best I can for myself? And you say no, you can trust that answer. And then you know there's a place to step the fuck up. But if you say to yourself, am I doing the best I can in this moment with the resources I have available to me? And the answer is yes. Then it's yes, bitch.
What advice would you give your younger self?
To never marry. To never marry. I think that I could have done all the things that I have done without a man. When my 2 husbands and my father all died within 3 months. And I found myself Betty, because I was no longer Betty Charbonnet, no longer Betty Reed. I was no longer defined by someone else's name.
Also, I just want to open up space for you to say anything to the audience or to the camera, anything on your mind.
The important thing is never.
If you're in your 30s or close, I want to share something that has completely changed how I see life. Think about this. If you're 30 years old and the average woman on earth lives to be about 72, that means you could have another 30 to 40 years ahead of you, a whole new lifetime. And this time, those years are completely in your control. No more childhood taking up a big chunk of your life. No more confusing and shaky 20s when you were trying to figure out who you are and what you want out of life, trying to make sense of relationships, work, and just life in general. But now in your 30s, things are different. You've got the next 30 to 40 years to walk through life with a clearer mind. You've learned some important lessons, you've chosen what matters most to you, and you've gathered some valuable resources along the way. You know who to love and who should stay in your life. You should know what makes you happy and what doesn't. You've got a better idea of what you need to feel good and what to avoid to keep that peace. And sure, you might not have everything figured out yet, and that's okay. The important thing is, you know you have the power to steer your life in the direction you want. You know what it takes to be happy, and even if you're not all the way there yet, you're on the right path. This realization makes me feel so hopeful and excited because it means the best years are ahead of me. And I'm not just getting older, I'm entering a phase in my life where I'm in control. And honestly, that's a beautiful horizon to look forward to.
If you spend 2 minutes on this every morning, people are going to say you got lucky. But it's actually not related to luck at all. This is day 11 of 20 ridiculous habits I stole from Silicon Valley entrepreneurs. I tried this for 2 years straight, and it got me a 6-figure job, my first investor in my business, a self-made female billionaire to fly me out to meet her, and even 2 best friends. Every morning, I send cool messages to people I admire. I send everyone the same few sentences, and it never takes me more than 30 seconds. Truth is, most people will ignore you. But if you make it a daily habit, by the end of the year, you would have sent hundreds of messages. And the likelihood of at least one person responding becomes almost guaranteed. This is simply because of the law of large numbers, which states the more you do something, the greater the success rate. So at some point, you would have sent so many messages that your success rate of at least one person responding becomes almost 100%. Because this person you messaged is somewhat important, just one response from them could open a life-changing, career-altering opportunity that, while may seem like luck, it's actually just a guaranteed outcome of a habit you worked hard to commit to. Curious to see what a cold message like this looks like? I'll drop it in my link in bio for you to check out for yourself.
This is going to hurt a lot of people. This might honestly hurt you, but if you stay at the very end of the video, this could be the hard pill to swallow that you needed for the day. Everything that you have in life, whether it be the job or the partner or the opportunities or the status or the place that you're living in, everything has to do with your identity. And if you're someone who's like, Kev, I don't even know who I am, I don't know my identity, the best way to understand your identity is to just look at your environment. That's who you are. Why I said this is going to be painful in the beginning of the video is because this will touch on a topic of radical responsibility. And this is a very touchy subject because we live in a world where people do not like to take responsibility of their lives. They'd rather blame circumstances, blame other people, blame their jobs, their bosses, blame their traumas, for where they are in life right now, why they're not getting the things that they want. Your life sucks because it's tied to your identity. And you will create stories that will reinforce that identity, which will then activate our seeking mechanism, which will help us seek people, events, opportunities, and circumstances that aligns with that identity. Your job sucks because that's tied to your identity. Because if you're someone who identifies themselves as their job doesn't suck, then you would have taken yourself out of that terrible job and quit a long time ago. And yet you're still staying. Why? You can say, because there's a lot of bills to pay, Kev, because there's a lot of things to pay. Well, those other people have a lot of bills to pay too, and yet they found a way. They found a way to get a job or create a business and loved what they do and still pay that bills. Some of them have bigger bills than you. So what makes you different? You say that in order to make money, you have to work really hard, really fucking hard just to make money. And yet there are people out there who's not really working crazy hard and making a lot of money. So what's their identity? What's different from your identity to their identity? There are people who works insanely hard out there, trudging their bones, working 80 hours a week, and then making nothing. So is that what your identity is? Like, is your identity tied to this, I need to work hard just to make money? You say that you can't get ahead in life because of the way you look, because people always judge you and perceive you. And yet there is someone out there who looks like you, or maybe looks worse than you in consideration to how you look. And yet they're still killing life. They are living an abundant life. They are surrounded by people who love them unconditionally. So what is different from their identity to yours? We do not get what we want in life. We get who we are being. Our identity is rooted towards the things that we get in life. I need you guys to take a pause after I ask you to do one thing. Maybe pause this video and then continue on. If you have time right now, sit down and look at your life. Look at what you have in life. Look at what you have currently manifested in life, and be honest. Be truthfully honest to what you have, where you live, who your friends are, what your job is. Be truthfully honest about yourself. And once you've taken inventory of that, you can deduce your identity from it. And the funniest thing is, if you want things to change, if you don't like what's going on in your life right now, then you have to change. You have to change your core identity first, then the stories will change, and then you start seeking out other things to correlate with that story. But it has to be within your identity first. Who are you? And honestly, it's really good to ask this ourselves every single day so that we can train our brain to change. What kind of person has the things that I want, and what identity do I need to assume so that I can have the things that they have as well? Because clearly nothing is working for you right now. Clearly this current identity that you have created over your time period, and sometimes it's not even your fault. Like, some of these identities were passed down to us by our parents. These identities are passed down to us by where we were born, which cultural values we adopt. But that's okay, you're an adult now, and which means you can start from now. If you want these things to change, everything in your surroundings, you have to change first. No, it's not the opposite. Your surrounding cannot change first. You have to change. Who you are has to change. I'm even gonna go as far as to say that if you really don't like what's going on in your life, you need to start dismantling your whole identity and start building from scratch. It's gonna be very hard because one of the things that our egos hate is the ego death. We have use this identity as a form of mechanism, even a defense mechanism growing up. And for us to just destroy it is a big no-no. And we're going to have so much resistance, but it's the only way. Because if you want something different, you have to be someone different. And if you don't know how to become that someone, start looking at videos, start looking at people that you admire, start being inspired by them. You will find those correlations. But right now, let's stick to one thing. You are unhappy because you identify as someone who has an unhappy life. That is the first thing that's got to change. And again, back to the exercise. What do you want in life? And how can you become someone who has the identity of that person who has that thing in their life? And then start doing the things that that person does. Watch how your life slowly change in the beginning, and then gradually just be like, who am I? I don't even know who I am, but in a good way. I hope that video helps. And if you like it, if you're new, just come follow me. And I have so much more videos coming out like this. And if you're someone who's looking for more personalized work within themselves, I do offer a one-on-one coaching. You can email me at my link up above. Just hit me up. As again, I love you all. Happy Canada Day. Mwah.
This is how I manifested my dream life. The past 3 years of my life, I have left a toxic relationship. I have dropped out of law school. I've gotten into business school. I've graduated with my MBA. I moved out of an apartment that was facing other apartments, had one window. I was overweight. My skin was breaking out. My hair was falling out. I went from having anxiety attacks once a day, the worst depression I've ever faced, to the life that I have now. A very, very soft life with an amazing partner, my dream car, a huge apartment, an MBA, a career that lets me make my own schedule. I actually get paid to help women on their glow up journey. And this all happened within 3 years. A lot of content on how to glow up, how to become your best self. I think I rarely say what I did to personally glow up. I think I give a lot of advice, and obviously I had to take my own advice and I'm using it from previous experiences, but I kind of just wanted to come on here and give you a rundown of how I did all of that in relatively a short amount of time. This is how I manifested my dream life. The first thing I honestly did was start to journal. I bought the 5-minute journal off of Amazon, and in that you put 3 things you're grateful for, 3 things that would make this day great, and 2 affirmations. Committed myself to doing that every single day. I found that after a while, I had a lot of fun kind of dreaming up this dream life for me. I started doing some other research on some other journaling prompts. I wanted to dig deeper. That's when I found shadow work. Y'all can Google shadow work on your own. And I found that shadow work both undid me and brought me back together, but it also illuminated the parts in my life that I was truly suffocating from and that needed to change immediately. I started journaling, shadow work, then I started reading a whole bunch of self-help books. I became addicted to this thought that I could change my reality and I could change my life. I realized that a lot of these books and everything were talking about developing a routine. So I made up this kind of makeshift routine, and every single morning I would wake up, I would drink a glass of water, I would journal in my 5-minute journal, I would make my bed, and I would meditate. That was honestly just the makeshift of my routine. And I kept doing that, and I kept doing that. And then eventually I kind of got myself back to baseline where I could function. For about 2 months, I did that. And then I felt like I had a pretty good handle on my routine. I started including at-home workouts. I didn't want to be in anybody's gym, something low impact, something doable. And every single morning I would wake up, I would drink water, I would journal, I would meditate, go in my living room, in my dark apartment. I would do yoga, and I did that every single day. Started researching gut health, different nutritious meals. Started really deep diving on what was making my skin break out. Then I started business school. Going from law school to business school, in and of itself, I didn't realize that at this time, was changing my environment. And changing your environment is really one of the biggest things you can do to change your life. It is such a breath of fresh air. And changing your environment can look like the friends you hang out with, your relationship, social media, your home, your job, whatever it might be. Something needs to change environmentally wise. And for me, it was academics, it was school. Next step, honestly, for me was physically changing my home. I knew I couldn't thrive in a place that didn't even have any sunlight. I found this apartment that was a little bit more expensive, and maybe I took a risk, but I was like, you know what? I am going to upgrade my life to maintain this rent. I believe in myself, I can do it. And I moved, and it was floor to ceiling windows. It was a pretty small apartment, but there was sunlight in it, and it was mine. The third thing is I finally let my toxic relationship go. I felt like I was on cloud 9. From there, I downloaded TikTok. I started just kind of uploading the things that got me back to baseline. I started being vulnerable. Found that through my vulnerability, I had met other women that were kind of on this path. And if they weren't on this path, they wanted to be on this path. They wanted to change their life. Really, really consistent with TikTok because I honestly loved it. Started getting paid from TikTok, and eventually while I was in business school, I was making a good enough salary on TikTok that I graduated becoming a full-time content creator. By following God's plan for me, by impacting women everywhere, everything just started to fall into place. I started getting higher brand deals. I got a management company. I got an agent and a manager that I love so much. I was able to eventually move into a bigger apartment. I was able to purchase my first car being a Porsche, able to travel around the world, able to take care of my mom. And I look around now and I'm like, how did this happen? Honestly, God, being vulnerable, aligning myself so fiercely to this woman that I saw in my head. And eventually I looked up and I got everything that I wanted.
One of the things that poor people don't understand about increasing your quality of life as you get progressively richer is that hedonic adaptation will destroy most of your fantasies. And people who are in the middle class or upper middle class already kind of know this going into wealth, but people who come from nothing have never experienced luxury. So they maintain this fantasy that if they just could get luxury products or luxury experiences, they would be happy. Like when I was in college, I worked at a lot of restaurants, and you meet a lot of guys from tough economic backgrounds, guys who are dishwashers and busboys and whatnot. And we would talk shit about like, okay, if you got rich, what would you spend your money on? And so many of these guys would say, I would buy a car. I'd buy a Camaro or a Lamborghini, or I'd buy a watch. And the problem with that is hedonic adaptation. Like, you can go and get that Lamborghini, but 2 weeks from now, driving that Lamborghini is going to feel like driving your Toyota. That is how our brains work. They get very used to things very fast. So spending your newfound money on luxury items is probably the worst way to increase your happiness or boost your quality of life. And the stuff that actually can do that is very uncool. It's stuff like paying for someone to do your laundry, like getting a laundry service, or paying to have a cleaner come once a week or once every 2 weeks to clean your apartment or your house. Paying to get takeout food delivered so that you don't have to waste time going to the grocery store and cooking your meals and this and that. All of those little unromantic things are actually what's going to make you feel like a king at the end of the day.
I saw a post on Instagram that said, sorry, I couldn't get financially stable in my 20s. I was too busy learning not to hate myself. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is that self-acceptance and learning to actually like yourself is a financial skill. Self-hatred, self-loathing, self-criticism is wildly expensive. I see it all day, every day inside of my community. My page and my community is all about helping women stop impulse shopping, overspending, and getting out of the debt that's been a result of all of that impulse shopping and overspending. And I would say not in all cases, but in a lot of cases, when we start peeling back the layers of the onion and uncovering the cause of all of that overspending and the resulting debt, usually it boils down to some version of, I don't like myself, I hate myself, I view myself as a project that needs to be fixed. I need to fix my face, I need to fix my hair, I need to fix my body, I need to fix my home, I need to fix my children, I need to fix every single aspect of my life so that I can change myself into this version that I think I need to get myself to so that I can then finally accept myself and finally love myself. And so what a lot of people don't realize is like self-acceptance is a financial skill that will pay dividends over and over and over. Not that any of us are ever taught budgeting or getting out of debt or investing, even though we should. That's another video. But along with that, another skill that needs to be taught in conjunction with all of the roadmaps and the plans and the numbers and the black and the white is the internal stuff that is driving the choices that you make with money, and that is driving the spending decisions that you make. Like, do you actually like yourself? Do you accept yourself? Or do you view yourself again as this project, as inherently wrong, as broken, and you trying to go out and use stuff and spending and consumption as a solution for that self-hatred, because I'm here to tell you it's never going to work and it's not a solution. So if all you do in your 20s, if you heard that or if you saw that video, and literally all you do in your 20s, all you focus on is just getting yourself to a point where you actually like yourself, I promise you that alone will pay financial dividends over and over and over, more than pretty much any other investment you could ever make with your money.
This is going to be my top tips on looking and feeling better. Coming in at number 1 is hair. Just keep your natural hair color. If you do want to switch it up, I would go at least 2 to 3 shades lighter. Anything lighter than that will cause damage to your hair. I would avoid bleach at all costs. I've been there and I'm telling you, it was such a mess trying to grow my hair out, and my hair finally is where it's at, where I want it to be, and I'm still like trying to grow it out. I know the whole trend of like going lighter during summertime is like so popular right now, but I'm telling you, going lighter with your hair, if that's not your natural hair color, it will have you looking mid for at least 3 years. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, the texture of your hair will get messed up, it'll get fried, it's gonna look like a broom. It's just better to have really, really healthy hair than having the color that you want. I'm sorry. Take this as big sister advice. I'm telling you, just keep your natural hair. Trust me. Just trust me. Coming in at number 2 is eyebrows. Eyebrows are so important for your face. They frame your face. So just going for that natural shape that you already have and just filling them in is just enough. Like, don't do the feathered brow or just shave half of them off, which I've done before, and now I'm like in the process of growing them out. Just keep them natural. Coming in at number 3 is your teeth, your smile. Like, that should be the first thing that you should fix on yourself if you are self-conscious about it. So like many years ago, I got in a really bad car accident and it wasn't my fault, and I ended up getting like $7,000 from that accident, and my car was totaled, and instead of fixing and getting a new car, I literally went and fixed my teeth instead. And when I mean fix my teeth, I mean I got Invisalign. I'm like totally against getting veneers, anything like that, unless you absolutely need it. Like, if you have like really fucked up teeth, like you can't do anything to save them, throw some veneers on them. But if they're just like your regular teeth and all you need to do is like straighten them out, like, I like natural teeth more just because it gives a lot more personality. Like, when everybody has the same type of teeth, it's just like kind of boring. I am pro Invisalign. Like, if you are thinking of getting it done, definitely do it. My teeth have not shifted because I wear my retainer every night, no matter what. Coming in at number 4 is Botox, and for the people who are totally against Botox, it's because you don't know much about it. Anyone who's like, should I get Botox? Do it. It is literally the best thing ever. Obviously, go to someone who's really, really good. I personally cannot live without Botox. Like, I literally, the past like maybe 8 years, I've been getting it done like every 4 to 5 months. I just love it. And people who like shame people for getting Botox, I'm just like, it's an instant eye roll. Coming in at number 5, I know a lot of people, it's going to be hard for them to actually cut this out, or they just can't do it, is completely cutting out caffeine. I have not had caffeine since the beginning of October, and my energy is like through the roof now. Switched over from having coffee to a green juice every morning. I have it with cucumber, kale, apple, pineapple, and it is absolutely delicious. And I don't even crave like getting like a latte or what I used to drink anymore. Like, I just crave juice, and it literally changed my skin. I don't break out anymore. Before, when I was drinking a lot of caffeine, like, I always had like a very like dehydrated skin look, and now my skin is just always glowy, and it's because I switched over to that. So those are my top tips.
Guys, life always gives you clues, and if you have the rule book, or you know that map where you like decipher the hieroglyphics, if you have that, it's a lot easier. And I'm going to share with you my clue book that I've been developing for myself, if it's helpful for you. So if you've ever tried something and it doesn't work, and then you're like, oh, let me try again, it doesn't work. And then you try again and you get a little further, but it still doesn't work. And then, you know, by the The fifth time, people typically give up, right? But if you're in that process and you still haven't given up yet, maybe you're on like your second or third try, or maybe you're on your 10th try, this is what's happening. Life is giving you experiences to mold you into the person that you need to be to get to the finish line. So you might have tried one thing this way and it didn't work, but what did you get from that? You got perseverance. You're like, you know what? This didn't work, but I'm really convinced that I still want to try this thing. I still want to try and achieve this thing. Can we try again? And it didn't work. Oh, what did I get from that experience? Well, I got knowledge about my market and I know now what they don't want. And so you go and you do it again and you're like, oh, but I thought I was giving them what they do want, but in the end, they didn't want this either. But what did you get from that? You got this expansion of your ego. You had to work through certain fears that you had to even put yourself out there. You had to work through this, like, typically people have a really solid identity persona, and you had to break through that because you had to put yourself out there. You had to kind of pivot, right? So you develop that flexibility and that breaking through of your ego identity, which people aren't conscious of this, right? They're just like, I tried, I failed. And then the next time you go and try it and do it again, see all of these different trials, they are actually trials. And you come out differently as long as you don't give up. And even if you do give up, there's like another video for that. But as long as you don't give up and you continue to reiterate, you continue to pivot, you continue to adapt, you continue to experiment, right? As long as you keep on going in whatever journey that is, it could be building a business, it could be trying to exercise for a consistent amount of time. You are a different person after every trial. And if you actually were able to look at the trials that life was giving you, and I know it seems like, oh, it's just like obstacles or whatever. It's not. No, your higher self does not make mistakes. Life does not make mistakes. The fact that you think it makes mistakes is your problem. It's not the truth. Everything is perfectly orchestrated for you to succeed. And sometimes having the rule book or the guidebook, I don't know what you call it, the keys, it's helpful. But if you're going through this exact thing where you feel like you're doing everything in your power, but it's not working, you're actually building the most important tool, which is your self-identity and your will and your perseverance and your confidence. And as long as you allow life to continue playing with you, you're going to become the person. And then the next thing you know, you're going to get aligned with what you want and then some. So don't give up.
I went from being single, living at home, unemployed, barely any money, just miserable and depressed, to literally the opposite of that within about 3 months. Beginning of 2022, I was just living at home with my mum in the hills, which is like northwest of Sydney, with my dog. And I was working like 2 or 3 different jobs at the time. Absolutely no clue what I was doing with my life. And it was around that time that I was like, you know what? I've just got to live my life, not care about finding someone else. I just got to live my life, be happy. If you're new, I have started 3 uni degrees and not finished a single one. So there was also that element of like, I am a failure. I cannot get a job without a degree. At the start of March 2022, I went to a friend's engagement party one night, and I was, honest to God, the only person there without a partner. Just like, oh my gosh, okay, this is slightly depressing. So that night I got home, I downloaded Hinge, said yes to a few people, whatever, right? And that night, it sounds so lame, but I pulled out my notebook and I literally wrote a list of all the things I wanted in a partner. And I was like, this is so unreasonable. There are so many things on here, like, I can't be this picky. Yes, you can. So the next morning, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? I need to delete it, which I'd done multiple times. Like, I download it and then delete it the next morning. And then
I opened the app and I had a message from a guy, and I was like, oh, he's kind of cute. Like, his photo, he was like in a studio, like playing music, and I was like, that's kind of cool. For context, I was single for 5 years before this, so it was not something I did often. And anyway, got in my car, drove out to Marrickville. Like 2 minutes before I got there, I was just like, I had a moment of like, what are you doing, Natasha? What are you doing? It was all very perfect and wonderful. We spent 6 hours that whole day just chatting, walking around, going to get coffee, getting lunch. Anyway, over that next couple of weeks, I applied for a job at a place in the city, like a media company. I'd kind of heard of them before and was like, oh yeah, this sounds fun, looks cool. I think the role was advertised as like sales assistant. I was like, I've never done sales, but seems like a cool company, so I'm just going to apply. About a week later, I got a call while we were at dinner saying that I got the job. About 2 weeks after we'd been together, he was looking around for an apartment, found this one, and we came to view it together, which is crazy after like 2 weeks. Long story short, about 2 months later, he moved in. I was kind of here, but like I was still living at home technically. And then maybe 2 weeks after that, he asked me to move in, which was about 3 months after we met for the very first time in person. It is just crazy when I think back to it, how quickly my life changed and how you can go from not knowing someone one day, being depressed that you're single, you're the only one in your friend group that's single, no job, whatever, to the next day meeting this person who now I'm getting married to in like 7 months. It's wild. Everything can change so quickly. It takes one day. That's like one day your life is one thing, the next day it's a whole other. And yeah, I just think that's really cool. I always say good things happen to good people. Things work out. But yeah.
If you cannot stop assuming the worst of your partner or expecting things to go wrong or go bad or expecting them to hurt you, I want you to watch this. So this is something that I do in session with a lot of my clients, and it works very well. It offers a ton of perspective in the moment. So let's just say that we're referring to a court case, right? Like when you are in court, you take the stand, you're presenting in front of a jury, and they just want the facts, right? When you're in court, they don't care about your emotions. They don't care about your opinion. They don't really care about your feelings or your perspective or your fears. They just want to know the facts so they can come to a fair verdict, right, on this case. I want you to do the same thing with your partner. So let's just pretend that the jury is either a group of random people, or let's just even say, actually, no, let's say it's random people. It's people that are completely unbiased to the situation, and they just want to know the facts of the person you're with and the situation, the relationship that you're in. And you start saying things like, well, they're very kind, they're very consistent, they reciprocate all the efforts that I put in. They're present all the time, emotionally and physically. They're there for me a lot. They're respectful. They're supportive. They're all of these great things. Not once did you say anything about, well, I'm scared of this, or I think this, or maybe this, or I have a fear that this might happen. You just shared the facts. So when you share the facts, that verdict with the facts that you shared lead to the verdict of, this sounds like a safe, loving, compatible partner for you, right? This sounds like a good, safe person that you can be here with. The verdict did not lead to, it sounds like he might hurt you one day, or he might cheat on you, or he just might randomly change his mind on you one day and just abandon you. Like, the facts that you shared do not point to that verdict that you are so terrified of. So again, I just think that this helps put things into perspective and get you out of your head a little bit, because a lot of the times we have the facts, but the facts get clouded because of our fears and our feelings and our emotions, and So remove emotion from the equation. And I want you, whether out loud or in your journal, to list the facts of your relationship and the person that you're with, the things about them, the things about their relationship. And then I want you to come to an honest verdict of this probably, and this happens all the time in session, where like when we remove the emotion, it's like, this is a really safe person. This is a really good person for me. I don't have any evidence, right, in this case to be fearing the things that I'm fearing right now. So try removing emotion, try stating the facts, and see how that shifts your perspective.
Your appearance, your relationships, your education. If you want to go from insecure to confident, I highly recommend investing in these 3 areas. This is really what's going to help you become a pretty wealthy woman one day. Your appearance is always where I recommend starting, just because it's the easiest to see change in a short amount of time. So you can start going to the gym, you can start going to workout classes so you feel better about your physical, because I believe when you look good, you feel better. You can start improving your makeup, you can start getting a skincare routine, just some actionable steps to help you feel like your most beautiful self. 2, you'll have that confidence. Then I want you to start investing in your relationships. This is not only your dating life, this is also your friendships. Having meaningful connections is really key to your happiness. And I feel when you are happier, you are more willing to thrive in all areas of your life. You're more willing to pour into people. You're not really keeping this hater energy because, again, you're happy. And relationships are really essential to that. The 3rd one is your education. We love an intelligent baddie. We love someone who knows how to talk about diverse topics, whether it's politics, whether it's makeup, whether it's fashion, whether it's culture, whether it's traveling. The list goes on and on. Make sure that you are investing in your education. And this does not necessarily mean going to grad school. This could be listening to podcasts. This could be reading books. Let me know which area that you plan on focusing on.
If you are looking for a sign to start doing the artist way, this is your sign. Now, ever since I started doing the artist way, weird, crazy things have been happening to me. Coincidences, although the book says they're not coincidences, they are the universe, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, I am called Sedona, after a town in Arizona, and I have been desperate to go there. I went when I was 6, but I really want to go back there. It's very spiritual. A psychic man predicted my birth, and that's kind of why I'm called Sedona. And I turned 30 this year, and I was like, it's my Saturn's return. I've just got this like urge to go there, but like I can't really justify it. I can't afford it. Anyway, a few magical things ended up happening. My sister's going on a work trip to New York. She's getting her accommodation paid for my birthday present. She said she'd help me with my flight to New York. And so it's like everything was kind of leading me there. And I was like, it feels like I should just go to Sedona. I should go to Arizona whilst I'm already in America, but I can't really afford it. I was on the phone to my sister walking through town as I was having this conversation. I was like, I can afford to go to New York. Like, I can make it happen, but just don't know if I can justify the trip to Arizona. And as I said it, I walked past this vintage stall and I'll put a picture in. This jumper appeared in front of me, Arizona. And I was like, Sky, the fucking weirdest thing just happened. So this is the jumper, and this is a picture of Sedona, the rocks, the moon, like it's the same. And I was like, okay, if ever there's a sign, that is a sign. So he was like, oh, I'm self-employed. And I was like, the only problem is like the longer I stay out there, the more days I'm not working. And so like, actually, I need $2,000 to cover my rent in September and in October. And I'm just like, where's that gonna fucking appear from? It appeared. It appeared. So I'm an actor. And today I got an email from my old agent. And I was like, that's weird. Why could they be emailing me? A commercial that I did 3 years ago basically has been continuing to run that commercial without telling us. And so they owe me money. Basically, you get paid a buyout when you do a commercial, and that's normally for 1 year's usage. They've been running it for 3 years. And the fee, exactly what they owe me, is £2,000. I've also had so many other like crazy coincidences happen since doing the artist way. So maybe I'll make another video, but this is your sign. Like, ask and it is given. Ask and it's given. Ah!